Hello and welcome back to International Yankee English. We post videos about improving and or learning English with a focus on more advanced English. Please come back for more videos. We post weekly videos and we are also going to start live stream lessons back up very soon. So make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn all notifications on. Okay guys, on to today's video. The topic for today is the 5 things you should remember when you are learning or practicing a language. So technically we are always learning a language, but I don't like to say that a B2 or C1 more advanced learner is a learner because you already know enough of the language to effectively communicate in the language. But there are always ways to improve it, especially if you are looking to study in the language or to use it professionally within the work field. So there are always ways to continue learning, but some students are put off by the word learning because they feel they already know English. So I always say learning or improving. These tips apply whether you are learning as a beginner or if you are improving at a very high advanced level. Okay guys, tip number 1 for you today is to truly know your weaknesses and strengths when it comes to English and or in general. So what do I mean by with English? These are very specific. You have 4 main skills that you train when you learn a language. You have speaking, you have writing, you have reading, and you have listening. These skills are not all created equal for every learner. Okay, so often listening and or reading tend to be easier than writing and speaking. And you need to be able to differentiate, see the difference between your levels in each different category, but then also realize where do I want to go? So when we talk about tip 2, we'll talk about that a bit further. Tip number 1 is to really at first at least know yourself, know thyself, nos te ipsum. You want to know where you are, what your current level is, and what your current ability is. Now notice the keyword current because it's extremely important that you do this regularly. What you could do a year ago in English is not what you can do today in English. Maybe you have improved, or maybe you have not been using your English as much and your skills and level have actually decreased over time when you haven't been using it. That's why it's really important that you continue to check your level and to assess where you are in the different skills regularly. Without knowing this, you cannot really progress if you don't know exactly where you are in the 4 competences or skills. Now, in general, you also need to know your strengths and weaknesses as a learning style. Okay, so what are the things that you are really good at? Maybe you are a visual learner. Maybe you need to see more infographics or videos or pictures that help you visualize what it is that you are learning. Maybe you want to watch more TED Talks or more Netflix shows or more YouTube videos. Or maybe you are somebody who really learns a lot better by reading and writing. So you may want to have a textbook where you regularly do exercises and read about the theory behind the language, or reading actual books where you can really put the vocabulary and grammar structure in writing style. Clearly, you read it on a piece of paper and you put it into your mind and absorb it that way. You have to know where your strengths and weaknesses lie before you start to set out to work on your English skills. Whether you are taking lessons, joining a class, or self-learning at home, you have to recognize these things in order to make real progress in your English. Another common learning style is kinesthetic learning, which means active learning or learning by doing. And I highly recommend actually writing very often on social media posts, interacting in English to make use of your English. But even more than that, the app Clubhouse, or there are other apps like Hello or italki, and some others. I personally like Clubhouse the best, simply because I really enjoy the platform. It's free and there are so many different rooms that you can join. You can really get on stage in an English learning room, for example. You can get on stage. It's just an audio app. There's no video. And you can practice speaking. You can have a conversation with somebody. or you can listen and decide to join in if you have something that you want to add or ask. So there's so many different possibilities there. But you do have to know your current level before you really know which rooms are good for you to join. So your general learning style and your specific current level in English are essential. That is tip number 1, or thing to remember number 1. Okay, thing to remember number 2. This would be that you have to set realistic and measurable goals for yourself. So generally, learners will fall into one of 2 categories, not always, but generally I find this to be the case, that either you have somebody who is going for an ultimate goal, like they want to take the IELTS exam and they want to pass it with a band score of 7 or higher. That is a really concrete goal. But now, how they're going to achieve that and within what time span and what they're going to do in order to prepare themselves to do that, those have to be realistic, and you have to understand what the possibilities are, what your possibilities are, what's the materials you have will be able to bring you, who your teacher is or what class you're going to join. All of those things have to make this goal realistic. They all go hand in hand. Okay, so you don't want to set a goal for yourself to pass the IELTS exam with a band 7 within, 1 month, when you've done nothing yet to prepare for it, okay? It takes a lot of time to practice and understand the style of the test and the kinds of things they're going to be asking you about. So even if you have an extremely advanced level of English, it could still take you some time to prepare, because English for an exam like IELTS is not the same as just using English in your day-to-day life. So you have to understand what they're going to be assessing and prepare for that specifically, right? So you need time for that. You have to be realistic. Now, there are other learners who just want to improve their English in general. They say they feel nervous when they speak to native speakers, or if they need to send an email to somebody from the UK or the US at work and they need to write it in English, or they have maybe a couple of friends who are exchange students or expats living in their country and they don't speak the native language of the country, and you want to be able to communicate with them and have a relationship, a friendship with them. And you can't really do that effectively because you're struggling with whatever it is. Your English level in general is just not as high as you want it to be. Now, that can be reassuring for you. You think, well, I don't have something concrete that I need to work towards. I just want to learn in general, and the internet is full of free materials. So I'm just going to watch YouTube videos, follow some blogs, follow some Facebook pages, maybe jump in a clubhouse room. And that's all okay, since there isn't really any pressure on you. It's more kind of just a desire of yours to improve English. But the fact is that even then, if you don't have anything kind of concrete, you won't see any tangible progress. You will not really see a difference in your English anytime soon, at least, for sure. And even after a couple of years, you're not going to see a huge difference. Why? Because you don't have a goal. It's not measurable. You can't decide kind of what you're going to do if you don't know what it is you're going to do. What is it that you're going towards, right? When you set out on a trip, you know your destination. So you have to set some goals for yourself, figure out where you are, what are the things that you struggle with the most, and just take some baby steps and some small goals to get you started so you don't feel overwhelmed, and that you keep it fun, because in that case you would be doing it more for personal development and not for employment or studies or visa or anything like that. So you want to make sure that you take small, realistic goals, so you keep it fun and interesting for yourself, and you can actually really see the progress that you're making, and that'll motivate you to keep learning and to keep improving. If you're getting value from this video so far, please make sure to hit the like button, and if you have not already, please subscribe and turn the notifications on so you can be notified of future videos, in addition to the plethora of free English content we have on YouTube, Facebook, Clubhouse, TikTok, Instagram. We also have additional options in content and resources for our YouTube members. We just launched our YouTube membership program, so there is a whole library of videos and extra videos that you will get each month that are only available for members. Or if you just want to show a little bit of support to this channel for all of the free content that we already have, please go to buymeacoffee.com and do a one-time donation to buy me a small, medium, or large coffee. I would really appreciate it. Hopefully I can get a better camera for you guys and a microphone so that the quality of this content is even better. Let's continue. Okay, so thing to remember number 3 is to use it or lose it. You may have heard that from me before. If you've seen my top 10 tips for learning English in 2021 video, then you know that both setting measurable, realistic goals as well as using it or losing it are some of my tips. And what I want to expand on in this video about that, if you haven't watched the other video, I'll link it in the cards and in the description box. Do watch that. So what do I mean by use it or lose it? You have to continuously use your English. As already mentioned, the level you had a year ago, if you haven't done much to practice or improve your English in the past year, that means that level is no longer there and your level has actually decreased in the meantime. So you need to constantly and consistently use English. That doesn't mean you need to speak it all day, every day, but at least a few times a week, you need to be speaking, reading, listening to, and also writing in English. So if you don't have that much time, I would recommend splitting up these skills. Make sure that you do at least a little bit of each one every week. And then going back to thing to remember number 1, which was that you needed to make sure that you know your weaknesses and strengths, put a little bit more emphasis on the weaknesses and then a little less on the strengths. So let's say if you actually feel really confident in your speaking, then, you know, maybe hop into a clubhouse room like once a week, spend a good half an hour in there and practice speaking or doing an exchange with somebody so that you can speak English. Or if you don't really want to, you know, risk the chance that you don't get a lot of speaking time, you don't want to wait around for your turn or whatever, you can also do, for example, a pronunciation course with somebody like me, where you can have access to software where you can log in at any time, listen and watch a video and record it back. And then you can do that either as like a self-study program for a really low cost, or you can do it with a teacher. So for example, I have courses, speaking courses that I offer as well, which are also really well priced, but a little bit more money because you get then the feedback from me, your native teacher. So that is another way to do it because you may not always have time to kind of wait and see or, you know, figure out if you like your conversation partner and whatnot. That is something that you can do that would really help you get that speaking practice whenever you have the time to do so. It's always there for you. So that is something I would recommend if you needed to focus on speaking more. But let's say you're not nervous about speaking and you are great at speaking, but you struggle with grammar. So with grammar, I would say that's always a thing, because if you're self-studying, then using grammar exercise books and reading the theory can help. But what you're going to hear in one of my later things to remember is that just learning it kind of isolated is not going to improve your grammar in a communicative sense. So in a sense of using it yourself in your writing and in your speaking, right? So in that case, if you're not going to take a course with a teacher or, private lessons with a teacher where you work on your grammar, I would recommend doing reading comprehension worksheets online and tests. If you need some help looking up those things, or you need a free level testing or some resources, contact me. I have a free support group where you can find a lot of that within our group. And if it's not there what you're looking for, I can point you in the right direction. You can find all of the contact information for me down in the description box below. But once you kind of figure out what it is you're struggling with, if you don't want to work with a teacher on the grammar, do a lot of reading and try to find those things that you're doing in the grammar exercise book. So whether it's grammar tenses or modal verbs or prepositions, try to underline them and make note of how they're being used in the article or the book or the magazine that you're reading, right? So you want to actually see grammar in use rather than isolated away from the rest of the things. So you want to really pick out the things that you need to focus on a little bit more and do that a little bit more each week. But then also on the other days when you're focusing less on your main thing, that you do a little bit of, listening. So maybe you watch a TED Talk with the subtitles on, or reading or writing or whatever it is that you need to focus on a little bit less. So make sure that you use it consistently and focus more on the weaknesses than on the strengths. And make it fun. If it's not fun, you're not going to do it, and then it's not going to be consistent, and instead of using it, you're gonna lose it. So let's remember to use it, not lose it. Okay, so thing to remember number 4, I already touched on in the last one, so I'm going to be really brief with it, and that is to learn both grammar and vocabulary in context. So for grammar, I definitely recommend reading as well as doing the grammar exercises. So if you're not enrolled with, a teacher or in a course, and you don't really have any guidance, what you can easily do yourself is get a free grammar book. I have a link in my support group on Facebook if you join to a free PDF of my favorite grammar book by Raymond Murphy, English Grammar in Use. And there you can see, it's really a self-study book. On the left side, you always see the theory or the description of the grammar explanation. And then on the right side, you have exercises that you do to test your knowledge. And then in the back of the book, you check your answers yourself. That is something that you can easily do yourself. That's isolated though, okay? That gives you the kind of the foundation of the grammar. But then what you want to do is to go ahead and read, articles online or a book or whatever you find interesting, and try to pick out examples of the grammar that you're doing in your grammar exercise book. Okay, so that is something that's really important, and that is something that you may want to hire a teacher just for 1 hour or do a consultation and try to book with them, okay, and figure out where can I find examples of these grammar tenses in actual reading resources where it's actual native, authentic English works. So it's not artificial. So you may need to contact somebody for some help with that, but generally you'll find if you just follow the websites that you like or the blogs you like, or you read books in genres that you are interested in English, you will find examples of those grammar tenses if you are looking for them. And the same thing goes for vocabulary. And I actually do recommend, if you have a bit of a budget and you're willing to spend a little bit to improve or maintain your English level, the speaking courses that I do, for example, with EnglishCentral.com, they are closely linked together with vocabulary, and the tools there are amazing. So you have the words highlighted, you don't only hear them being pronounced and practice speaking them, but you can click on them for further definition, and you get tons of different examples of the words being used in sentences in multiple different videos in different contexts. And that is how you'll truly begin to understand how a word is used. Instead of looking it up in the dictionary and just seeing kind of 1 or 2 sentences, it doesn't make sense if you don't have a greater context. So I do highly recommend signing up for EnglishCentral.com. If you contact me, I can get you a discount to do it without a teacher, but I can also provide you with feedback, and you can enroll in a course with me as well. And that is probably the most effective way in all of my years of teaching that I have found that you can truly improve your vocabulary. Learning it in context, the same as grammar. Learn it in context. Okay guys, and our 5th and final thing to remember when you are learning or improving your language skills is to limit the amount of translating you do. I have an entire video about how to stop translating in your head. I'll put it in the cards down below in the description box. Do watch that. It's a really good video. It wasn't that popular for one of my videos on this channel, but from the people in our community who are really active, who I've spoken to, as well as students who I've shown it to, they find it so helpful. So please, I do think that that is a great video for you to watch, especially if you're struggling with doing too much translation in your head. So you want to limit the amount of translating you're doing from your L1, your native language, to English, or to whatever other L2 foreign language that you are speaking. So you want to try when you're writing to just go straight out to writing it in English and trying to form your sentences that way, even if they're a bit not well structured or you're making mistakes. That is a learning process that you need to go through. If you're just going to go to Google Translate and put it all in there in your native, write it in your native language and then hit translate and pop that into an email, that is not practicing your writing skills. And even if you proofread it to try to find the mistakes, it's still not the same. So you need to first try to write in the target language directly. Don't first write it in your language and then try to translate it yourself or with a translation service. You need to go directly to the target language. Okay guys, that's it for today. Please come back next week. You will see either a live lesson or another video from me next week, and follow us on all of our social media accounts. And please do check out the membership options both here on YouTube and on buymeacoffee.com for more ways that you can continue to learn with me. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of the views and comments and support from you. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.